I'm here in the fabulous Bar 7 on Bridge Street with Michael Gilmore, and just going to have a quick chat about the challenges facing the hospitality sector in particular, Michael. I know I'm hearing from bars, restaurants, cafes, there's challenges now more than ever. Businesses are facing serious challenges, and also changes in habits as well of consumers, and I'm sure you're feeling the same here. Is that the kind of message you're getting from your peers as well across the city and county?
It is, yeah. I mean, there's huge pressures, to be honest with you, Mike. Pressures from all ends, but costs of energy are a big issue. Staffing costs are a big issue, and the cost of the product to come into us as well. Both food and drink. As you know, the breweries tend to put up their prices willy-nilly, to be honest with you, and we have to absorb all of those costs, and we cannot pass them all on to the customer. It almost gets to a stage sometimes where you're embarrassed with what you have to charge for a pint or for something to eat, but it's just the reality of it. It was a profitable business to be in for everyone a few years ago. Things have changed an awful lot. You have increases in labour, 40% in labour, I think, in the last 3 or 4 years. You have 30 to 40% of the cost of food coming in some cases more than that, maybe 50, 60% on certain items, fluctuations in pricing, all of that. It's very difficult. It's a difficult business now.
And that's it, I suppose, the rising cost of food in particular, and again, you hit the nail there, where it's very difficult to pass that cost on to your customers, because you've obviously got a good reputation and many great places around Galway City and County. And when you pass that on to your customer, then obviously you're fair losing the trade, losing that custom. So it's kind of a horse and cart sort of a job, which goes first, and chicken and egg scenario. So again, it's tough, and the cost of food is really, really driving up, isn't it?
The cost of food is really, really driving it up. But equally, the cost of labour is driving it up. We're among the highest in the EU, I think, when it comes to minimum wage at this point. It's very difficult. It's a balancing act to try to get what you can for your product, but not to lose customers at the same time.
And what's it like in terms of recruiting and retaining staff? I know I spoke to many business owners in Galway, I suppose small business owners, and attracting good quality staff, because there's a large, obviously, student population here as well, and a lot of students would work in this trade, and to retain staff, because a lot of them would move on again. So I suppose you're constantly turning over new staff as well, which is probably a challenge as well in this industry.
It's a very big challenge. Even junior staff now are a very big challenge to recruit. We're up against the likes of multinationals who are paying a far higher hourly rate than any hospitality business can afford to pay, and it's tough. They're tough times.
It is, and I suppose again, from speaking to yourself in the past and other restaurants and pubs and cafes around the city, those challenges are there. But I often wonder, and I speak to one or two as well in the county, in rural Galway. I'd imagine some of those challenges around staffing levels are amplified even more. Trying to run a business in rural parts of Galway, where there's issues with connections with public transport, there's issues with housing, issues with infrastructure in general. So it's very hard to lure people to rural towns and villages to work and set up shop there and live there and grow as part of the communities if the infrastructure is not there.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right. Staffing in rural towns is very, very difficult. They equally, mind you, have the same accommodation problems probably that we have in Galway, maybe a little bit more pressure in Galway on accommodation. But accommodation is expensive everywhere now, all over the country. If we want to attract people to Galway who are previously working in somewhere where accommodation maybe is only half the price, without mentioning any counties or anything like that, but it's very hard to get somebody to come to Galway. They could be coming to Galway for a higher wage, but they'll have a lot less left at the end of the day because the accommodation isn't there. So, I mean, we know it's a countrywide probably a problem on accommodation. Recruiting, very difficult, very difficult. There's a major shortage of skilled workers in this business as well. It would be great if the visa program was easier to access for some foreign nationals, to be honest with you.
I even go back to I suppose the rural Ireland side of it. I know it's not all about nightlife either. There's the social side of it, and many people of the older generation would would use the local pub, local cafe for their social connection to their peers. And we've seen many rural pubs in Galway and beyond Galway indeed shut down and close over the years. And taking that social aspect away, it's a knock-on effect for mental well-being and creating a lot of isolation in rural Ireland as well, which is a big problem. I'm sure you've seen it in your own industry as well.
Definitely. In rural Ireland, the pub is a community hub, really. It's where a lot of different occasions are celebrated. And a lot of pubs are closing down because people will still go out for an occasion. They go out for a party, they go out for a celebration or something. But if you're looking at Sunday to Thursday now, it's very, very difficult to even cover the costs of opening, in rural towns especially.
I suppose, again, and I will speak to other bar and restaurant owners over the coming weeks. If you'd one ask or one golden ticket wish of government, what would that be?
Well, firstly, I'd like to say that we appreciate the fact that the VAT on food is being reduced to 9% from the 1st of July. It's going to be a big help to pubs that serve food. It's going to give us a little bit of margin that we haven't had for the last 3 or 4 years. An ask, from my point of view, I think would be lower VAT on beverages. Beverages are still taxed at 23%. Excise duty is also very high on alcoholic beverages. So that would be one thing that would help an awful lot, especially in rural pubs where they don't serve food.
Yeah, and that's a challenge for pubs that don't serve the food. It's a really challenging time, I suppose. Not to think worst case scenario, but if these measures or something like this aren't looked at, because the cost of living, of course, is not just the public facing that, it's businesses, of course, as well, and small to medium businesses are facing those high challenges and high costs. You mentioned some of the costs there around keeping the doors open, around insurance, around keeping staff levels and so on. If we don't see any kind of action around support and help and for people in the real world, it's not a very good future in this industry.
Well, it's not encouraging. I think the figures from the VFI are roughly that I think it's 130 or thereabouts rural pubs closed in the last 12 months, and close at least that number every 12 months at the moment. That's a big number. 130 is a big number. If there aren't some kind of support or help, especially around energy costs and around the VAT, that trend will continue. It'll only get worse. It's very difficult.
Well, with that, I suppose, Michael, thank you for your time. It's always important over a campaign to get the viewpoints of people in the industry and in the business to get a real life experience and the challenges you face. And you mentioned the energy costs there, and I suppose that those cost of living costs that are not just in every home, but they're also in every business. And you mentioned the 2 points there, the VAT and the energy costs that we need to look at as a collective. And I've said before, there are certain things that don't need to be political. There are things that we can all work on together to make sure we get delivery to keep our pubs, our restaurants and our cafes open. So again, thank you for your time today.
Thanks very much, Mike.